Ettore Bugatti once referred to Bentleys as the fastest trucks in the world. They were heavier and less agile than Bugatti's races at the time. Now, 3 generations in to the Continental GT 2018, and we've got a faster, lighter vehicle all round. It's been refined everywhere. They've taken away lines that didn't need to be there, but there are still the power lines that are so prevalent on all Bentleys through the Continental range, all the way through from 2003. Now, it's still a heavy vehicle. 2,200 plus kilos isn't light, particularly when you've got cars like an Aston Martin DB11 weighing 1,780 to 1,850 kilos. But Bentley tell us, drive it. Please drive it before you give your opinion. Now, we're about to do that across Austria's famous Grossglockner Pass, where there's a bunch of hairpins, and it's not the sort of vehicle, a Grand Tourer, you think you'd drive through these amazing hairpins with snow-covered peaks. But we're going to do that very shortly. But before we do that, I just wanted to point out the amazing detail. Even in the headlight lamp assemblies, there are these almost knurled diamond patterns, which is replicated inside the car, and I've got to show you inside the car because this is where hand craftsmanship, this is the benchmark, in my opinion, throughout the world in handcrafted benchmark interiors with series production cars. Let's have a look. You know, I'm looking at this cabin trying to think of a rival that blends so much of the handcraftedness in today's specialized cars like Bentley, Aston Martin, etc. That do it so well. Certainly Aston Martin doesn't, in my opinion, but we're talking Bentley Continental GT here, and you know, there's new features like this diamond knurling on all the rotary dials that you have here, and it is absolutely exquisite. They borrowed it from Cumbria cut crystal. I mean, the extraordinary level they go to provide such detail for owners that want this sort of stuff in their Bentley. It's even on the stalks here. You've got this diamond knurling up here and on the steering wheel. One of the guys was saying that when he walks into his office every day, he goes past the same person that is hand stitching the steering wheel. I mean, it's really wonderful to hear this story, these stories in, you know, this modern age, but it's all here. This is called Côte de Genève, Geneva, obviously in English, and it is the most wonderful metal finish that looks like it's been hand chiseled. It probably has, for all that matter. Now, this is an entirely new car outside and inside, and we've got an entirely new digital screen up here. Now, it's all part of the Volkswagen group. This is based on, the Bentley Continental GT is based on a Panamera platform, but it is honed and specialized for the Bentley Continental GT and its weight. Now, this screen is fascinating. If you hark back to 1952, Ian Fleming, the creator of the Bond books and movies, drove a Bentley. But in the original Bond movie, the screen went up in Goldfinger, the screen went up to expose a GPS system. That was back in the 60s. Well, this goes one step better. And if you just check this out, we can rotate the entire screen into 3 instruments here. And we've got the 12.3 inch digital display infotainment system here, and you've got a blank screen if you want to go blank before the car actually kicks over. It's absolutely wonderful. This clock also has this diamond knurling inside it. It is absolutely exquisite. I can't tell you how comfortable these seats are, but we'll drive a couple of 100 Ks this morning, and it'll be fine. You'll come out of this car feeling like as fresh as a daisy. Everything about this car is new, and I can't wait to show you from behind the wheel. Now, we've just driven that magnificent Austrian pass, the Grossglockner, and unfortunately we were far too busy to chat and drive at the same time there, but nonetheless we're still in Austria and we're still driving the new Continental GT Bentley, and it is absolutely amazing. Now, I said in my intro that it was still a heavy car, 2,200 plus kilos, but they said drive the car, because there is an armory of technology in this vehicle to keep it straight and level. And I'm talking 48 valve electrical systems with active anti-roll bars front and back, The adaptive dampers are variable, so they're predictive in their ability to adapt to the road conditions and surfaces. It really is an amazing car, and no matter how hard we pushed it, and we felt we could push it a lot harder, almost you needed to be on a track to give this thing some proper stick. But even in the hairpins, drilling those 10-piston calipers up front, you get no sensation of body roll whatsoever. And I think it's quite remarkable that you can be in a car of these dimensions and this weight and feel like you can drive it, not quite like a hot hatch, but it's certainly beyond the standard GT car and into the realms of GT sports car, if you know what I mean. It feels like the old school Bentley GT Super Sport to me, but you know, this is the standard model, and we can obviously expect different variants of the new Continental GT to come after it. Now the steering is variable ratio, and that's also a beautiful weight right from the get-go. You get the sensation that you're driving a car that you can really feel. As I said, it shrinks around you, and I think it's a perfect weight no matter what you do, because of course that's variable too. So at low speeds, parking spaces and city driving, it'll be very light and easy, but in some difficult corners where you're really pushing, well, then it firms up and gives you what I think is some really good feedback through this tiller. And I think that's really important. Now we've still got the same W12 6-litre V12 up front. Now that's inherent. They tell us it's been completely reworked, and we've got port injection, the old school port injection, and we've got direct injection in the same car. Now that doesn't happen, I don't know of any other car that actually has that, but this car does, in order to meet EU6 regulations, etc., and future emissions controls in Europe particularly. Top speed, well, that's slightly down actually. It's 333 k's an hour, but 0 to 100 is well up by 0.8 to 3.7 seconds, 0 to 100. Now that doesn't mean much, but it does get off the line amazingly quickly, and it's got twin scroll twin turbos, so the lag is virtually gone. Just like body roll has been eliminated, well, they've managed to eliminate turbo lag in this vehicle as well. But for now, it's the all-powerful 900 Newton meter and 467 kilowatt V12 to get this 2200 kilo mammoth into these corners like you wouldn't believe. So I'm going to have a bit of a steer now, a bit of fun as soon as we get out of this little village. And then when, of course, you get out onto the open road, such as now, we can sort of have a bit of fun. Now, what about braking? Well, like Bentayga, we've got a 10-piston 420mm brake disc and 10-piston caliper up front. Now that means, folks, that it's absolutely bulletproof in terms of braking ability. Now, I should clarify that it doesn't feel grabby like some vehicles. It's got a really, really good foot progression, pedal travel, so that when you initially jump on the brakes, it still doesn't want to grab, and it brings you to a stop very quickly but progressively. And that's really important in the tight hairpins, that you don't feel like it's a nervous driver, because it's not any of that. So we'll just give it a little bit. I mean, you can hear the turbos whistle. You really can. They just pop up out of nowhere and bang. I expected more bass though in the mid-range in this vehicle, being a 12-cylinder motor, but it's not. I mean, Bentley's own customers, GT customers, asked for a more agile, a faster, lighter vehicle. Bentley have these sessions with their GT customers, and that's how they develop future generations, and they've done it with this car. And I tell you what, we're giving it the beans now, and it is just absolutely flying. Give it on the brakes. And wonderful stopping power and wonderful progression. You know, based on the hand craftsmanship inside this vehicle, we've gone through that in detail. Based on the huge performance reserves of this vehicle and the fact that it drives like a much smaller vehicle, even though it's 4.8 meters long, 2,200 kilos plus wide, and 2,200 kilos plus heavy, and extremely wide. It's got a wonderful low stance lower than I'd say the previous generation Continental. This car, you know, as I said, borders on being a sports car, but it may just be the world's best Grand Tourer, period. And I do mean that, and we love the DB11, but I think this does luxury better than any other brand on the planet at the moment for a series production car, and I think that's important. I think Bentley have delivered by far their best vehicle so far, and I for one would love to be in one permanently. See ya.